Okay, this is where we last were with our review quiz. We have worked through 2/3 of the problems of getting prepared to do our testing, and we still have about 1/3 of those questions left, and we're going to accomplish those today. Okay, so let's move to a new slide as we begin. And our first question today is going to be, a recent survey showed that 41% of recent college graduates named flexible hours as their most desired employment benefit. In a graduating class of 850 students, how many would you expect to rank flexible hours as their top priority in job benefits? Round to the nearest whole number. Okay, so I'm noticing that there's a percent, 41% is mentioned in this particular problem. So anytime we have a percent, we know percents go over 100 when we set up a proportion. 41% ranked flexible hours as their preferred job benefit. They said in a group of 850 people, how many would rank flexible hours? So the 100% represents the whole. The whole would be the 850 people that they named as the total. We're solving to find the number of people that ranked flexible hours. Once you have your proportion set up, we can then simply multiply two diagonal values and divide by 100. So let's do that. We've got 41 times 850, and we're going to divide that by 100. That's going to give us 348.5. So what they're asking us to do here, we have 348.5. And let me look back at the problem. It said round to the nearest whole number. So mathematically, if I round, I would round that as being up. So that would be 349. And that's it. Just set this one up like a simple proportion problem. Okay. Let's go to our next one. We have solve the equation for x. 7/8 x equals negative 21. So we have 7/8 x equals negative 21. Now, when you first look at this, don't let the fraction throw you. Don't think it's going to be complicated because there's a fraction. Look at it this way. Over on the side, think to yourself this. If it were 7x equals negative 21, what would we do to get x alone? You'd say, oh, okay, this is multiplication, so I'm going to divide by 7. When you divide by 7 on both sides, you end up with 3. Same process here. This is just a fraction times x instead of a whole number. So we're going to divide both sides by that fraction, 7/8. The 7/8 is going to cancel. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in negative 21, then divided by, and we're going to type in the fraction 7/8. So let's do that. So we have negative 21 divided by, and we're going to do the fraction 7/8. You do not have to rewrite it as multiplying by the reciprocal. I prefer you just leave it in its original form. So our answer here is going to be a negative 24. So don't let it throw you because there's a fraction. Just do the same process as if it were a whole number, okay? A coffee company wants to make a new flavor of Cajun coffee. How many pounds of coffee worth $7 a pound should be added to 30 pounds of coffee worth $4 a pound to get a mixture that's worth $5 a pound? Now, when I do this problem in the classroom, I have a bucket and some coffee beans in there that I share. And what happens is you have, if you went to, say, Harris Teeter and you were to buy a bucket full of beans, you're going to get a bucket of beans. They're going to have a certain price, and there'll be a certain number of pounds. You're then going to take another pail of beans that happen to have a price and then a pound. Actually, make that a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so let's say we have a bucket and we have a price and then we have the number of pounds. We're going to have a second bucket of coffee. It has a price and it has pounds. We're going to get a new mixture. Now the new mixture is going to be, it'll have its own price. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the pounds from the first one and add to it the pounds from the second one. So let's call this pounds 1 and pounds 2. So you might have, let's say, beans, and let's say you have hazelnut beans. And to me, Cajun coffee just sounds nasty. So we're going to end up with a mocha hazelnut blend of coffee. So it's going to be a blended coffee. That's what we're making. So let me come back and look at the problem, and that's how we're going to key in this information. How many pounds of coffee worth $7 a pound? So for the first one, the price is $7, but we don't know how many pounds. That's going to be our variable, the X. The next four words are should be added to. There's our plus sign. Should be added to 30 pounds of coffee worth $4 a pound. Now, this is where people usually make a mistake. They usually write 30 first and then the 4, but I want to be consistent. My price is 4, my pounds is 30, and I want to put it still in the same order, price first, pound second. To get a mixture that is worth $5 a pound. So the combined blend is going to be $5 a pound. Now, I need to put here in the parenthesis my pounds. The first one, we don't know how many pounds. That's our variable X. For our second one, pounds is 30. The common mistake is if people put 30 here and 4 here, they'd accidentally put the 4 here, which is a price, is not the pound. So that's why I say try to keep this in order. At this point, all we do is use the distributive property and finish solving for x. So we have 7x plus 120, 5x plus 150. I'm now going to move my 5x to the left, cancel it. I'm going to take this 120, subtract it, and move it to the right. So now I have 2x is equal to 30. I'm going to divide both sides by the 2, and x is equal to half of 30 is going to give me 15 pounds. So that's the infamous coffee problem, and it's really not as hard as it first looks. So just remember, price first, pound second. You're adding the 2 flavors that you're blending, and then for the new mixture, put the poundage in parentheses. Okay? Find the original price of a pair of shoes if the sale price is $44 after a 20% discount. Okay, now this is a particular problem. We have a little bit of extra work to do to be able to calculate this. I will, however, make it a proportion problem. Okay, so I'm going to do my percent on this side. So 100% is equal to the original price of the pair of shoes. We subtract from the original price the discount amount. and we subtract from the original price the discount amount. That will then leave us with the sale price. The information they gave us is they told us that the sale price is $44. We're trying to calculate the original price. The original price is going to be the X. We were told that there is a 20% discount. Now, this side is my percent column. This side represents dollars. The 20 cannot go here because this says discount amount. But in the same location, here beside of it, I can put the 20 because the discount percent is 20%. If I want to do this problem, I would simply set up a proportion. 100 is the original. That's what we're trying to find. Even though we know the discount percent is 20, we cannot calculate the actual dollar discount amount with the number 44 being given. If I took 20% of 44 and added it back, it is not going to be the original. So what I need to do is I'm going to need, and let me put the sale price here, that's $44. If the sale price is 44, I need to find this percentage. The sale price is what percent of the original? Well, 100 minus 20 gives me 80% because proportions have to have equivalent amounts. So if my sale price is $44, the percent is going to be 80. Now that I have this set up, all I've got to do is cross multiply and divide by 80. So let's do that. So we have 100 times 44 divided by 8. Do it all in one row, and that's going to give you $55. So the original price is $55. And 20% of 55 is going to be 11. Let me just show you that. 55 times 20% is 11. And if I took $5 and I subtracted 11, it would give me the sale price of the 44. So that's the way I could go about checking it. If I had taken the 44 and found 20% of it and added that back to the 44, do you see that is not correct? That cannot be done. That will be completely inaccurate. So that's why you have to do the math and calculate this 80%. That's the one little trick here, is figuring out what percent is equivalent to the sale price so that you can set up your simple proportion. Okay, let's move to our next one. Evaluate the expression. So we have 3y minus 5z, 3y minus 5z, all of that is cubed. And on this particular problem, they're giving us values. They're telling us y is 4 and z is 2. So y is 4 and z is 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute these values. So that's going to give me 3 times 4 minus 5, z is going to be a 2. Now I still need to come back and put the big parenthesis here. So what we have is 3 times 4 is going to give us 12. 5 times 2 is going to give us 10. Those need to be subtracted. And I'm still bringing down my parenthesis in the cubed. 12 minus 10 leaves me with 2. 2 is raised to the third power. And 2 to the third power, 2 raised to the third, which is 2 times 2 times 2, gives me the value 8. Okay? If I were to type this in on the calculator, let me show you how you could type that. If you were to type it, you would do parenthesis 3 times 4 minus 5 times 2, close your parenthesis, raise it to the power of 3. Order of operations would be, it would do multiplication and multiplication first before it would do the subtraction. So in this case, I really don't have to have a lot of extra parentheses, and it does give you the same solution. So you can type it in and do it either way, okay? There are N people on a bus. At the next bus stop, 5 more people get on the bus. No one gets off the bus. Draw a bar diagram to model the number of people that are now on the bus. Use this model to write an algebraic expression for the number of people now on the bus. The common mistake is that people usually, they know if N people are on and 5 people get on, they know that means there's going to be N are on the bus, 5 more people get on, nobody gets off. So we know, and we already have figured out the formula, N plus 5 is going to be the equation. What people do, so down here at the bottom, that's where you would type N plus 5. But the mistake is people look at each of these. This has an N minus 5, that has an N plus 5. Sometimes people will pick this, but if you do, that means N plus 5 more, so that's N plus 10. This is another subtraction. Here's another subtraction. This one has an N and an N plus 5, but this means double the N's, 2N plus 5. So all 5 of these answers are incorrect. The only correct answer is the most simple one, the one that has an N and that has the 5. So when you're looking to identify the picture for this problem, you're looking for the one where there are labeled N people on the bus, 5 people get on. Do not choose any that have addition signs or subtraction signs or any other N's or 5s or any other values in it. Just the simple N and 5, and the equation that you write is the N plus 5. Dolbear's law states that the relationship between the rate at which snowy tree crickets chirp and their air temperature of their environment. The formula is T equals 50 plus N minus 40 over 4. So T equals 50 plus N minus over 4. This is our equation. T is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, and N is the number of chirps per minute. If T is 55, find the number of minutes. So we're solving for N, and they're telling us that T is going to be 55. So if T equals 55, we're going to find the value for N. So this is what I do. 55 goes where the T is. And then I have 50 minus 40 over 4. The first thing I want to do, before I want to get this N alone, but before I even address this, is I want to take this 50 and move it to the left. So if I subtract 50 on both sides, that's going to cancel. And then I have 5 equals N minus 40 over 4. Now, as we go to get the N alone, let's get rid of the fraction. The opposite of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So here, the 4's cancel. 4 times 5 gives me 20 equals, and all I have left here is the N minus 40. We're still trying to get N alone, so I can add 40 to move the 40 to the other side. And our final answer is that 60 is the value for n. Okay, for x minus 7 over 3 equals, and we have 3x plus 7 over 4. X plus 7 over 4. Now, when we look at this, the first thing that I want you to see is that there's a number in front of the parenthesis. Whenever you see that, that should let you know that you need to distribute first. That will be the first thing I would do, is distribute here and here. So that's going to give me 5 over 3 is equal to 3x plus 21 over 4. Okay? So far, all I've done is I distributed to get rid of the parenthesis. Now, the next thing I want to look at is the fact that both of these have a denominator. In order to get rid of the denominator, you're going to multiply both sides by both denominators. And we're doing that to cancel them out. Now, yes, I know 3 times 4 is 12, but please don't write 12. I want you to write 3 times 4, and here I want you to write 3 times 4. The reason I ask you to do that is because sometimes I have students who accidentally make a careless error. When I go to cancel them out, if my 3 and my 3 cancel, what am I left with? A 4, and then I have 4x minus 28. Here, when my 4 cancels, I'm left with a 3 and a 3x plus 21. So after I have canceled that out, I'm then going to recopy what is left. Once you've canceled out the denominator, let's bring down what we have. Now, guess what we're going to do? It looks like the very beginning. We are going to distribute again. So, distribute here and here. 4 times 4 is 16x. Here, we're going to do 4 times negative 28. That gives us a minus 112. 3 times 3 is 9x. And then we're going to do 3 times 21. That's going to give us 63 plus 63. And at this point, what we do is finish solving for x. So I'm going to move my 9x to the left to cancel it. And I'm going to add and move the 112 to the right to cancel it. 16 minus 9 is going to give us 7x. And 63 and 112 is going to give us 175. We're then going to divide both sides by 7. And then x is equal to, and you're done. So this was not nearly as hard. Just break it down into the simple steps of what you need to do first as you're simplifying and solving for an algebraic expression. Solve the equation for x. We have 5x minus 2 equals negative 32. 5x minus 2 equals negative 32. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my 2 to the other side, and that's going to cancel. So I have 5x equals negative 32 and 2 is negative 30. This is multiplication, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5 because dividing is the opposite. And x is equal to negative divided by a positive gives me a negative 6. solve the equation. Negative 4y minus 3, negative 4y minus 3 is equal to negative 3y minus 4. Negative 3y minus 4. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to take my y and move it to the left. So the opposite of subtracting is to add 3y. That'll make it cancel. Add 3y. So what I now have is negative 1y minus 3 equals negative 4. I still need to continue, and I want to get the y along. So first, this minus 3 has got to move to the other side, so the opposite is to add 3. So I now have negative 1y equals negative 1. Finally, this is still not y, it's a negative 1y, so the opposite of multiplication is to divide by this negative 1, do the same with sides, that cancels, and a negative divided by a negative ends up with giving me a positive 1. And last but not least, the number of counties in state A and the number of counties in state B are consecutive even integers whose sum is 82. Okay, so let's start here. We have state A and state B, and their sum the sum is 80 of consecutive even integers. So let's start with a think and a use column. And we have consecutive even integers. So the first two consecutive even numbers are 2 and 4. The smallest value is always identified as the x. So if x is 2, 2 plus 2 is going to give me the 4. This is what I'm actually going to use in my problem. So let's come back and finish. Okay, state A and state B, they're consecutive even integers whose sum is 82. So let me write sum equals 82. And in a moment, it'll let me write that. There we go. The sum equals 82. Now, I also need to pay attention to that last sentence, so let's make note of that right now. The last sentence says, if state A has more counties than state B, how many counties does each state have? Okay, state A has more counties than B. So if I look at the numbers 4, which is bigger? The 4. So state A has more counties than state B. So the X alone is going to be our answer for B. The X with 2 more added to it is going to be the answer for A. So I'm going to add X plus 2 is equal to a sum of 82. Let's combine our like terms. Now remember, when you're combining these, that's 1x and 1x, which leaves me with 2x plus 2 is 82. Let's move the 2 to the other side. 2x equals 80. Divide both sides in half. Half of 80 is 40. So x is equal to 40. Now let me show you what generally happens here. Here it says state A has blank counties. Most people come right here and they type 40 in the first blank. And if you type 40 in the first blank, that is completely inaccurate because B is the X. Always pay attention to that. So X is the 40. X plus 2 is the one for state A. So state A is going to be 40 plus 2. That answers 40. State B is just X, just the X is 40. So just be careful when you're plugging those values in, okay? And that's it. That's the last one.